Welcome to Lexivia English. Ready to take your English to the next level? Here we learn through stories, slow, clear, and fun. So sit back, listen carefully, and enjoy the journey.
The Great Journey Back. One ordinary Thursday morning, something impossible happened. People around the world went to sleep in their comfortable beds and woke up on hard ground under an open sky. They found themselves in a world that looked completely different from the one they knew. There were no cities, no roads, no buildings. Instead, there were endless forests, vast grasslands, and wild rivers. The air was cleaner than anything they had ever breathed, and the silence was broken only by the sounds of animals and wind. At first, people thought they were dreaming. They looked around for their homes, their cars, their familiar streets. But slowly, the truth became clear. Somehow, all of humanity had been transported back in time to the Stone Age, approximately 10,000 years ago. The world they knew, with its technology, its cities, its modern conveniences, had never existed. They were now living in the prehistoric world of their ancient ancestors. The most shocking discovery was that they had kept all their modern knowledge and memories, but they were now in a world where none of that knowledge could be easily applied. A computer programmer knew how to write code, but there were no computers. A doctor knew about modern medicine, but there were no hospitals or pharmaceutical companies. A pilot knew how to fly planes, but there were no planes, no airports, and no fuel. People found themselves scattered across the ancient continents. Some woke up in what would have been Europe, surrounded by thick forests and roaming mammoths. Others found themselves in ancient Africa, where early humans had once lived in small tribes. The modern borders and countries they knew had never existed. They were truly starting human civilization over again, but with the minds of 21st century people. Modern minds. Ancient world. The first challenge was immediate survival. People who had spent their lives in climate-controlled buildings suddenly found themselves exposed to the harsh realities of nature. It was winter in many parts of the world, and people who had never experienced cold without heating systems were unprepared for the bitter temperatures. Those who had lived in warm climates their entire lives found themselves in regions where snow and ice were constant threats, modern humans quickly realized that their ancestors had been far more skilled at survival than they had imagined. Making fire without matches or lighters was nearly impossible for most people. Finding food without supermarkets meant learning to identify edible plants, track animals, and fish in rivers and lakes. Building shelter without modern tools required skills that very few people possessed. However, modern humans had one great advantage: scientific knowledge. They understood concepts that had taken humanity thousands of years to discover. They knew about germs and the importance of clean water. They understood basic principles of agriculture, engineering, and medicine. A farmer from the modern world might not know how to hunt with a spear, but they understood crop rotation and soil management in ways that could revolutionize Stone Age agriculture. Some people began to organize themselves into groups based on their modern skills. Teachers became the leaders of learning communities, trying to figure out how to apply modern knowledge to Stone Age conditions. Engineers worked on designing better tools and shelters using only natural materials. Medical professionals focused on preventing disease and treating injuries with whatever natural remedies they could find or create. The Great Rebuilding. As weeks turned into months, something remarkable began to happen. Humanity started to rebuild civilization, but much faster than it had originally taken. Groups of people with different skills began to work together. A chemist might team up with a craftsperson to create better materials. A biologist might work with a farmer to develop more productive crops using only the plants and animals available in the Stone Age. The first major breakthrough came with metallurgy. People who had worked in modern industries remembered the basic principles of extracting and working with metals. They began to search for copper and tin deposits, creating bronze tools and weapons thousands of years earlier than had originally happened in human history. This gave them a significant advantage in hunting, farming, and building. Communication became another area of rapid development. People who had been writers, journalists, and teachers in the modern world began to create new forms of writing and record keeping. They developed more efficient languages and writing systems, combining the best elements of modern languages with the needs of their new Stone Age communities. Trade networks developed quickly as different communities specialized in different skills. A community near the ocean might become experts at fishing and salt production, while a mountain community might focus on mining and metalworking. People who had been business managers and economists in the modern world applied their knowledge to create more efficient systems of exchange and resource distribution. Conflicts between old and new. As communities grew and developed, conflicts began to emerge between different approaches to rebuilding civilization. Some groups wanted to recreate the modern world as quickly as possible, using their knowledge to skip thousands of years of slow development. They worked on developing writing, mathematics, and technology at an accelerated pace. Other groups believed that the Stone Age represented a better way of life. They argued that modern civilization had created pollution, inequality, and stress that had made people unhappy. These communities chose to adopt the lifestyle of Stone Age peoples, living in small tribes, hunting and gathering, and maintaining a closer connection to nature. The most serious conflicts arose over resources and territory. People who had been lawyers, politicians, and military leaders in the modern world began to organize larger groups and claim territory. They used their knowledge of strategy and organization to create more powerful tribes and communities. This led to competition and sometimes warfare between different groups. Some communities tried to maintain the democratic values and human rights concepts of the modern world, while others adopted the more hierarchical structures that had been common in ancient societies. The question of what kind of society to build created deep divisions among people who had once lived peacefully as neighbors in the modern world. Nature and human nature, living in the Stone Age world, revealed aspects of human nature that had been hidden by modern civilization. Without the distractions of technology, people spent more time in direct contact with each other and with nature. Many discovered that they were happier and more satisfied than they had been in the modern world, despite the physical hardships. Children adapted to the new world more quickly than adults. Those who had been raised on video games and social media became skilled hunters and gatherers. They learned to read the signs of weather and seasons, to track animals, and to understand the rhythms of nature. For many children, the Stone Age world was more exciting and engaging than the modern world had been. However, the lack of modern medicine meant that many people died from diseases and injuries that would have been easily treated in the modern world. This created a constant awareness of mortality that changed how people thought about life and relationships. Communities became more tight-knit, with people depending on each other for survival in ways that created stronger bonds than had existed in modern society. The natural world itself was revealed to be far more beautiful and diverse than most people had realized. Without pollution or development, the ancient Earth was home to many species of plants and animals that had gone extinct in the modern world. People who had been environmentalists in the modern world were amazed by the abundance and diversity of the natural world in its original state, a new ancient future. After several years in the Stone Age world, humanity had created something that had never existed before, a Stone Age civilization with modern knowledge. Communities had developed agriculture, metalworking, and construction techniques that were far more advanced than anything that had existed in the original Stone Age. They had also developed social and political systems that combined the best elements of modern democracy with the community-focused values of ancient societies. The population had stabilized at a much lower level than in the modern world, but the quality of life for many people had improved. Without the stress and competition of modern society, people had time to develop deep relationships, pursue creative activities, and live in harmony with nature. Many people who had been unhappy in the modern world found purpose and satisfaction in the simpler but more connected life of their new Stone Age communities. Some communities had begun to develop more advanced technologies, working toward eventually recreating aspects of modern civilization. Others had chosen to maintain their Stone Age lifestyle, believing that it represented a better balance between human needs and natural harmony. The diversity of approaches created a rich tapestry of different ways of living that had never existed in either the original Stone Age or in modern times. The future was uncertain, but it was also of possibility. Humanity had learned that it could adapt to completely different circumstances and create new ways of living that combined the best of both ancient and modern wisdom. The story of what would happen next was being written by people who had experienced both the benefits and the problems of modern civilization, and who now had the chance to create something entirely new. In the evening, around fires that provided light and warmth, people told stories. Some were about the modern world they had left behind, preserving the memory of humanity's great achievements. Others were about their new adventures and discoveries in the Stone Age world. The children listened with wonder to tales of both the ancient and the modern, inheriting a unique perspective that would shape the future of human civilization.